I'm so excited to speak to our guest today. She is an insurance broker that actually focuses in on the med spa industry. Please help me to introduce Kerri.
Hi.
Hey, Kerri, how are you?
I'm good. I'm doing great.
Good, good. Glad to have you on the show today.
Good. Yes, me too.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Jonathan McLean, and I'm the founder and CEO of McLean Aesthetics.
Welcome to the dark side.
Let's go. So, Kerri, tell me, where are you located right now?
I'm in California. I am in SoCal, so like Ventura County. But I work all over the US. So sometimes I have to work a little earlier, being on the West Coast. So yeah, they could be long days. But yes, I'm in California, where it's really hot right now, but but usually beautiful weather, right?
Nice. That has to be challenging working all types of hours.
Yes, yes.
So tell me a little bit about how did you kind of get into being an insurance broker?
I kind of fell into it, which a lot of insurance professionals do, and I started selling life insurance, and then I ended up working in a very niche market of medical malpractice insurance, which pretty much every healthcare provider needs. Sometimes their bosses give it to them, but sometimes they have to go after it themselves. So I've been doing that since 2016. And that's where I got started in this little healthcare niche of insurance. And then med spas, I really started working in 2017. So I've been about 5 full years of working with med spas and other healthcare professionals all across the board. So anything beauty, wellness, aesthetics related, I can assist with.
Super dope, super cool, really, really cool. What do you like? I guess, what is your favorite thing about working in insurance?
Insurance, I kind of nerd out on policies and finding, what maybe is wrong with a current policy and what I can do better for them. I actually read the 100-page policies sometimes, depending on the situation. So, and then I get, you get kind of used to the carriers that you work with, and then you kind of become a pro, and you can talk to anybody about those coverages. But yeah, I do like that I'm in a special niche with being in medical malpractice insurance. Not a lot of people do it, and I like that. I have that for myself.
Super cool, super cool. So to my understanding, right, you guys work with a lot of different policies or a lot of different agents, and you kind of pick the best deal for that office, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I always say, I'll take one application, I'll submit it to all the different carriers.
Right.
I come back and I show you coverage highlights, deductible options, premium, if that's what's the most important. And I ask, what's the most important to you? What are you looking for, to have the cheapest insurance possible or the most comprehensive? So it just really depends on that situation. But yeah, that's how I do it every day. So with all coverage lines, is we shop every single one. We don't just go to one carrier. We're not tied down to anybody.
Nice. And doing consulting, obviously, I've gotten a little bit into the insurance thing, and kind of I love the broker system because, like you just said, you guys shop so many people. I get so many options, but I always get that one client that's like, well, why are we only talking to one person? Can't I go try it somewhere else? Can I go quote it somewhere else? Why is it so good to use like a broker or something like that?
It's great to use a broker that is familiar with this specialty. So there's tons of brokers out there that can go to these carriers, but that doesn't mean that they know anything about wellness or beauty or aesthetics. So you got to find one that knows something, like me, about that industry. And it is important to use a broker because you could go directly to the insurance carrier and they could tell you the world. But when you really read the fine lines, there's things in there that maybe aren't appropriate for you, or maybe it really doesn't fit what you're doing. And that happens all the time, especially with these online instant quotes. I have it happen constantly where they got the instant quote, they bound it the same day, and then 6 months later they found out they're not covered for what they've been doing for half of a year. So it's very important to work with a broker that can look at that and see, and maybe your corporation's missing from the policy and you're like, no, I added it. Those are like little things that can happen, and it does happen often. I would say once a week that's a situation that comes across my desk.
Yeah, and that's huge because something goes wrong in the spa, and you're like, oh crap, I'm not covered for that now. I've been paying all
Yeah.
this time, and
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it can happen for years too. So it's important to make sure you really have somebody looking out for your best interests and making sure you're filling out the applications right and you're not missing anything. And there's something on your website that you didn't list here, and we have to make sure we're looking at everything.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So what other scopes of practice do you cover? Do you just do med spas? Do you do plastic surgery offices? Do you do dermatology? Like what scope of practices do you cover?
I do anything healthcare, so it doesn't have to be beauty or aesthetics or any healthcare comes to me, I can take care of it. I do specialize in the med spas, plastic surgeons, dermatologists. Those are things I work on so much that I can say I'm a specialist in that. But anything healthcare. So a nurse practitioner that's starting a Botox only mobile salon or something, I can help with that. So it's really just anything healthcare related, the small guys, the big guys, I can help anybody.
That's super cool, super dope. And I guess your ideal client could be anywhere in the US, correct?
Correct. Yeah. I'm licensed in almost every state. And if I'm not licensed in the state, then I can find somebody that can assist them. So
amazing, amazing. Now I've seen on your website you guys also focus on protecting like cannabis organizations. I've seen down here in South Florida there's a couple of spas that are combined with cannabis now, and that's becoming a rise. Is that something that's you see rising in the industry? Tell me a little bit about your thoughts of that.
Yeah, we do see that. I don't write just a cannabis spot, but I would if you say you have a medical office that's deciding to do the CBD or something like that, we can come up with a package deal that covers everything in that location. It's just really important. Let's say you have two corporations that work in one medical office and they're doing two different things, just to make sure everybody's covered, right? So if you walk in, who has the coverage and who would be liable, I guess you could say. But yes, you do see that more growing all the time as the states open up to be more comfortable with it.
For sure, for sure. Awesome. Now, tell me a little bit about some of the common mistakes like a med spa can make when opening, as far as insurance is concerned, or what are some common things that they make that you're like, okay.
Yeah. I see a lot of times that they'll get a general liability policy, and that's to get the lease, right? So you need to have general liability to sign the lease, but then they don't have property coverage. And property coverage would be like for a laser or for a fancy chair that they have in the room. So they don't have business personal property coverage. So they could go years with having the general liability, the professional liability, and they don't have property. And that could be a big deal. Let's say a laser breaks down or something like that, that they don't have that covered. That's a big scenario that happens. And then on the medical malpractice side, I think it's a lot of times not adding providers as you grow. So you start with maybe a doctor has a cosmetic office, and then they hire a nurse practitioner, and then they hire RNs, and the policy doesn't cover them. They only cover the doctor or things like that. And then again, like the entity, so not missing your corporation, adding that to your policy. It's just kind of the small things is maybe you change your name, or you go from a LLC to a corporation, like changes like that need to be added. And sometimes the insurance carriers won't cover a claim if it's not properly listed. So.
Got you. I can understand that. So make sure you're always continuously updating your policy. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Just notifying your broker as you grow and you make changes, because it's always changing, right? We're always doing something different.
How big is like training and certifications, like as far as like when you're going to get a brand new policy, or even does it change the rate, or is it something that is required? Tell me a little bit about that.
Every insurance carrier is a little different. I will say most sorry. So when you are submitting an application, I always request your certifications. I always request your consent forms to submit to the insurance carriers. That's usually the number one thing that they ask to see, is that everybody's certified in these new procedures. Your consent forms look good. There's nothing missing that they think needs to be listed on there. Those are very important for the insurance carriers and usually required.
Okay, for sure, for sure. And can it help to lower the rate, I guess, the more trainings that you have?
Not necessarily. Usually you don't see that. They don't base it on the certifications or the training. They just base it on the specialty. So if you're a cosmetic surgeon and you're performing this service, then this is your rate. There's not really a discount if you have more certifications.
Gotcha. Now, I know non-surgical BBLs and non-surgical rhinoplasties are huge, especially down here in South Florida. Can you explain a little bit why the premium is so high for those type of surgeries and why some companies won't even cover you for those type of things?
I think so. So a lot of times when things get popular like that, it gets to be a little bit more litigious in the States. So you see it commercially that there's all these people doing it, and then you go to somebody that's not so great at it, and then that they get sued, right? So it's definitely when certain procedures go viral or get too popular, the insurance carriers take a look at that and we'll see, okay, we need to kind of make sure that we're covering the people that should be doing it, right? So a lot of times you have, let's just say, a general surgeon that's like, okay, all of a sudden I'm going to start doing the BBLs, right? That's not always necessarily great, and that's how the insurance carriers look at it as well. So I think that's like, when things get too popular, usually they take a look at it, and I see that even on the smaller end, like PDO threads, which seem that's not surgery. You're not going under the knife, right? But that is getting super popular too. And you'll see a lot more insurance carriers kind of take a rein back on that and not offer coverage for it as much.
Okay, that makes sense. Especially because people are probably, sometimes, when things get popular, people kind of take shortcuts and things of that nature. So
exactly. And they maybe don't have enough training in it. And so then the insurance carriers are looking at that like, okay, it's popular. You shouldn't be doing it because it's popular. You should be doing it because you really think that this is going to make it, the person happy and feel better about themselves. Right. So usually that's where they kind of look at it.
Yeah, for sure. Can you get dropped from your policy, and kind of what are some common reasons that people get dropped from their policy?
I don't see it often. Usually what happens is at renewal of your policy, they might find something that you're currently doing, so service that you're providing, that maybe they're not comfortable with anymore. The biggest thing is if you have claims. If the claims are frequent, or if there's a expensive claim that comes through and it settles, that could be a reason that they will non-renew you. There could be several different things, but usually you don't see it like in the middle of your policy, all of a sudden you get canceled, unless you lied on an application or you're doing a service that you didn't notify the insurance carrier of. So there's lots of variables to why your policy might be canceled.
For sure. Now, a lot of my audience is going to be majority aesthetic providers that are looking to open their own practices, or maybe looking to have their own chair and rent out a place a couple times a week. What are some common things, or what's some things that you would give as far as advice, as far as insurance is concerned, that they should follow when moving that route?
So I think that you just need to make sure that you get all the coverages you need, or at least get pricing for them right away, so you know what it's going to cost, so that when you go to open it up, all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is triple what I thought the price would be. I think that happens pretty often. So definitely, as soon as you even consider it, within like 90 days of opening, start shopping your insurance coverages, because you might be shocked at the price and might need to rearrange some things. Of course, in healthcare, you need medical malpractice insurance, general liability, property coverage, if you have employees, workers' compensation, there's a lot of policies that you'll need to line up, and they do cost. So you want to make sure that you're, have your projections accurate when you're looking at starting a new facility or even just renting a room. You still might need to know those things ahead of time.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And what about like the doctor, right? Because they have to have a medical director. Depending on the medical director, does it change the price of insurance? I guess if their license is clean or if they have hits on it or anything.
Yeah, so when you're adding medical director coverage, it really depends on if they're actually going to be seeing patients. So are they going to do good faith exams, or are they administrative only? If they're administrative only, it usually doesn't affect your premium very much. If they have to do the good faith exams, it will increase your premium. And then if they're actually going to do good faith exams and maybe do Botox once a week or something like that, that is definitely going to increase your premium. Every time a doctor is involved, it's going to make the premium go up.
And as far as like, I would say more so, what are some benefits of having great insurance?
Well, you have risk management. I think that's a lot of tools that people don't realize they could use. So if you have a really good insurance carrier, you could call them up and they'll give you their recommendations. They can't tell you what to do, but they can tell you what other people do and how they make things better. They can help you with your consent forms. If you want to put somebody through like a risk management, program or something, maybe you have somebody, a nurse practitioner that doesn't have good bedside or something like that, you could put them through that with a good insurance carrier. And also, if a good insurance carrier is going to have a good policy, and that means, full consent to settle a claim, no deductible, the little small things that really add up when you do end up with a claim. And usually, you want somebody that's going to look out for your best interest and not just, like you said, drop you or just settle a claim and you don't think you did anything wrong.
And so risk management, that's provided in your in some insurances.
Yeah, that is provided with some insurance carriers. So you get like your own login, and you can set up multiple people to have access to that. And you could do CME courses. You can ask any questions 24/7. They would rather you talk to them ahead of time than end up with a claim. So they have somebody that's available 24/7 with some insurance carriers, and then others you can't get them on the phone. So you want to make sure that you can get your broker on the phone and get your insurance carrier on the phone. That's super important.
It's nice. Yeah, for sure. Especially when something goes wrong, it's so important. You're like in panic mode, so you want to be able to operate and kind of move seamlessly through the problem, for sure.
Exactly.
For sure. So for everyone that's watching right now and they're like, okay, I really need insurance broker, why should they go with you, or what would be some benefits of working with you?
The benefit is that I've seen almost all scenarios in the healthcare. I've written the registered nurse, and I've written the plastic surgeon. I've been doing just this insurance for so long that I've seen all the scenarios, and I think that I'm pretty good at it. And I'll pick up the phone. That's, I think, the number one thing is you hear all the time is people aren't responding to my emails. They're not picking up the phone, and I always pick up the phone, even if I'm, like I said, I'm on the West Coast, you're on the East Coast, and some people like that because I get 3 extra hours to work for you being over here, so I'm texting, I'm chatting, I'm communicating the whole entire time. And I try to make the turnarounds, what you want. So if you need something in 2 weeks, I'll get you something in 2 weeks, so I definitely am true to my word, and I'll get you insurance coverages as soon as possible.
One of my last questions would be, how long does the process take, I guess, to actually get insurance?
So I like to say it's usually 5 to 10 business days, and that's because our insurance carriers are very backed up on submissions ever since 2020. I can't get anything quicker than that unless it's like, a very, very unique scenario. They're very backed up. Just like it takes forever to get something shipped, these insurance carriers have so many submissions every single day. It does take time. So I always like to say, get that application back to me as soon as possible, because it could be up to 2 weeks before we hear responses from everybody. So that's the important thing, is that since I shop it, we have to get responses back from everybody. So it could take up to 2 weeks to do that, or more, depending on the insurance carrier.
All right, perfect, perfect. Well, thank you, Kerri, so much for sitting with me, speaking more about insurance in the aesthetic industry. Tell everybody where they can find you and how they can reach out to you if they have questions.
The best thing would probably be our website, so www.heffins.com, or you can email me, and that's all located on the website. That's usually the easiest to reach out to me.
All right, awesome, awesome. And until next time, goodbye.
Bye.